You need to gather your things and leave this restaurant immediately.
Officer, we're just having lunch. We literally just got our food. What's the issue?
I received a complaint saying you're disrupting other customers. You're required to leave now.
Disrupting?
We're sitting quietly with our children. What exactly did someone say we did?
That information isn't for you. You can leave.
Officer Daniel Reeves believed he was answering a routine call. As a patrol officer with the Brookhaven Police Department, he prided himself on responding quickly to complaints, especially those coming from local businesses that, in his words, served families and respected customers. When dispatch notified him of a reported disturbance at Sonny's Corner Grill at 1:05 p.m. on a bright Saturday afternoon, Reeves arrived within minutes. But the moment he stepped inside the restaurant, his assumptions took over. At a booth near the windows sat a black family of 4 quietly eating lunch. No raised voices, no arguments, no disorder, just a family sharing a meal. Yet to Reeves, they stood out immediately. They didn't resemble what he believed Sonny's usual crowd looked like. Someone had felt uncomfortable enough to call the police, and in his mind, that alone justified intervention. What Reeves failed to consider, or perhaps conveniently ignored, was that his department-issued body camera was already recording. Every step he took, every word he spoke, every biased judgment he acted on. The small device clipped to his uniform, designed to shield officers from false allegations, would instead become the most damaging evidence of his career. High-definition video and crystal-clear audio captured a moment that would eventually cost the city nearly $2.3 million and end Reeves' 12-year career in law enforcement. Officer Daniel Reeves had spent over a decade with the Brookhaven Police Department. On paper, his file showed commendations for proactive policing and business community responsiveness. But buried beneath that reputation were 19 civilian complaints filed over 11 years, many alleging harassment and discriminatory treatment of minorities in public spaces. Each complaint had been dismissed internally as a misunderstanding or lack of evidence. Reeves had learned the system well. As long as he framed his actions as responding to a business request or a citizen complaint, supervisors backed him. 3 years earlier, the department had rolled out mandatory body cameras following public pressure and misconduct allegations. Policy required cameras to be activated during all calls for service and citizen interactions. Noncompliance carried penalties, at least on paper. In reality, cameras often malfunctioned or were forgotten during controversial encounters. Reeves himself had failed to activate his camera at least 9 times during incidents that later resulted in complaints. But on this afternoon, whether out of routine or confidence that he was acting within policy, he turned it on as he exited his cruiser. That single decision would unravel everything. Inside Sonny's Corner Grill, the Carter family had no idea what was coming. Dr. Lionel Carter, 43, was an orthopedic specialist at North Valley Medical Center. His wife, Renee Carter, 40, worked as a senior financial analyst for a regional bank. They lived in the quiet Hillside Park neighborhood and were raising their children, Ethan, 10, and Ava, 8, with an emphasis on respect, education, and self-worth. They were successful, responsible, law-abiding. They were also black. Their Saturday had begun peacefully. After a late morning at home, the Carters decided to grab lunch at Sonny's, a neighborhood spot they'd visited once before without issue. They arrived shortly before 1:00 p.m., were seated promptly, ordered their meals, and settled in. Ethan and Ava colored on kids' menus while their parents talked softly. Nothing was wrong. Until a white couple in a nearby booth began watching them. At first, Dr. Carter ignored it, but the stares continued. Whispered comments followed. Eventually, the couple stood, walked to the counter, and spoke with someone behind it. Minutes later, Officer Reeves pushed open the diner door. His body camera was already rolling. Officer Reeves' body camera footage would later show exactly what happened the moment he entered Sonny's Corner Grill. The restaurant was calm. Families sat at tables, silverware clinked softly against plates. A few children laughed near the back booths. No shouting, no confrontation, no disturbance of any kind. The camera panned slowly as Reeves scanned the room, his gaze passing over several white patrons without pause. Then it stopped. The lens settled on the Carter family, the only black customers in the restaurant. Without hesitation, Reeves turned and walked straight toward their booth. The footage captured his posture stiffening, his hand drifting to rest on his duty belt as he approached. The angle from his chest-mounted camera showed him looming over the table, blocking the children's view of the aisle. "You need to pack up and leave. Now," Reeves said, his voice loud enough for nearby diners to hear. The body camera recorded the exact moment confusion spread across the Carter family's faces. Dr. Carter slowly set his fork down. His hands trembled slightly as he looked up. "Officer, we're just eating lunch." "We haven't finished yet. Did something happen?" The microphone picked up the quiet fear in his voice. It captured his instinctive movement as he reached for Ethan's shoulder, a protective gesture that filled the frame. "I've received complaints that you're causing a disturbance," Reeves replied. His tone was sharp, impatient. "You need to vacate the premises immediately." Renee Carter blinked, stunned. "A disturbance? We've been sitting here the whole time. Our kids have been coloring. We haven't said anything to anyone." Her voice wavered as she spoke. "Who complained? What did they say we did?" The camera recorded Renee wiping her eyes quickly, trying not to cry in front of her children. Ava shifted closer to her mother, sensing the tension. Ethan stared up at his father, confusion slowly turning into fear. "That's not something you need to worry about," Reeves said flatly. "You were reported. Either you leave on your own or this becomes a trespassing issue." Dr. Carter swallowed hard. "But we paid for our food. We're customers. We haven't broken any rules. Can you please just explain what we're accused of?" The body camera captured the silence that followed, the kind that makes a room feel smaller. Then Ava's quiet sniffle was picked up by the microphone as she began to cry. "Sir, don't make this more difficult," Reeves said, his voice lowering into a threat. "You and your family need to leave right now or I will place you under arrest." Renee pulled Ava into her chest. Tears streamed down her face as she tried to keep her voice steady. The camera recorded every second, the humiliation, the fear, the shock of being treated like criminals for simply existing in a public space. Other diners began watching openly now. Some whispered, a few reached for their phones. Before Dr. Carter could respond, a firm voice cut through the tension. "Officer Reeves, what exactly is going on here?" The camera swung as Reeves turned. Standing just outside the kitchen doorway was Mark Holloway, the owner of Sonny's Corner Grill, a man in his early 60s who had run the restaurant for nearly 3 decades. His face showed confusion, then concern as he looked between the officer and the family. "Mr. Holloway," Reeves said confidently, "I'm responding to a disturbance call." "A disturbance?" Holloway stepped closer, now centered in the camera's frame. "From who?" "I've been in the kitchen. No one reported anything to me." Reeves gestured vaguely toward the dining area. "A customer complained. These people need to leave." The body camera followed Holloway as he moved past Reeves toward the booth. "Mr. and Mrs. Carter," Holloway asked calmly, "have you caused any kind of problem today?" "No, sir," Dr. Carter replied, his voice steadier now. "We've just been eating with our kids." Holloway straightened and turned back toward Reeves. "Then there's no issue," he said firmly. "They're paying customers, they're staying." The restaurant fell silent. Officer Reeves' body camera captured the moment clearly, the subtle tightening of his jaw, the brief pause as he processed what Mark Holloway had just said. The lens showed Holloway standing between the officer and the Carter family, his shoulders squared, his body language protective. "I received a complaint," Reeves insisted. "I'm handling it." "Handling what?" Holloway shot back. "You just tried to remove a family that hasn't done a single thing wrong." The microphone picked up murmurs from nearby tables. A fork clattered against a plate somewhere behind them. Someone whispered, "This is ridiculous." Reeves stepped closer to Holloway. The camera angle shifted as the distance between them narrowed, capturing an attempted show of authority. "If you don't cooperate with law enforcement," Reeves said slowly, "you're interfering with my ability to maintain order in your establishment." "Order?" Holloway repeated, incredulous. "They're eating lunch, that's not disorder." "That's discrimination." The word hung in the air. The body camera captured Reeves glancing down for a fraction of a second, then looking back up. His voice dropped. "You might want to reconsider your position, sir," he said. "The department values its relationship with local businesses. You wouldn't want unnecessary problems." The threat was unmistakable. Holloway's expression changed, not fear, but recognition. The camera recorded the exact moment he understood what Reeves was implying. Before he could respond, a calm but shaking voice came from the booth. "Officer Reeves." The camera turned toward Renee Carter as she stood, holding her phone at chest level, its screen glowing. "My name is Renee Carter," she said. "I'm a financial compliance attorney. I'm recording this interaction. You've just threatened a business owner for refusing to remove us without cause." The body camera now recorded the irony perfectly, 2 recordings capturing the same abuse of authority from different angles. "We haven't broken any laws," Renee continued. "If you arrest us or retaliate against this business, there will be consequences." "Put the phone away," Reeves snapped. "Now, for what?" Renee asked. Her hands trembled, but she didn't lower the device. "Recording police in a public place is legal, you know that." Holloway stepped forward again, placing himself squarely between Reeves and the Carter family. "As the owner," he said firmly, "I'm telling you these customers are welcome here. They've done nothing wrong. I'm asking you to leave my restaurant." The body camera recorded a long pause. Reeves stood motionless, the sounds of the diner barely audible over the tension. Then he leaned forward slightly. "You're both making a serious mistake," he said. "You will regret this." Without another word, he turned and walked toward the exit. The footage bounced slightly with each step, capturing scattered applause and relieved murmurs from diners who had been holding their breath. A woman near the counter whispered, "Thank God." Outside, Reeves returned to his patrol car. What he didn't realize, what he still hadn't grasped, was that his body camera had recorded everything. Every threat, every lie, every second of a peaceful family being targeted solely because of how they looked. At the end of his shift, Reeves followed standard procedure and uploaded the footage to the department's secure server. Then he wrote his report. He claimed he had responded to a legitimate disturbance call, that the family had agreed to leave voluntarily after he explained the complaint, that the situation had been resolved calmly. He did not mention the owner contradicting him. He did not mention the threats. He did not mention the children crying at the table. It was a clean report, but the video told a very different story. 3 days later, the Carter family filed a formal complaint, and that's when everything began to unravel. When the Carter family submitted their complaint to the Brookhaven Police Department, it was initially treated like dozens before it. A form was logged, an acknowledgement email was sent. And as protocol required, the Internal Review Unit requested all available evidence related to the incident. That included Officer Daniel Reeves' body camera footage. What reviewers saw left no room for interpretation. The video contradicted Reeves' written report at every turn. There was no disturbance, no raised voices, no disruptive behavior. The footage showed a family eating quietly, children coloring, and an officer approaching them with immediate hostility. It showed Reeves issuing threats, refusing to explain the alleged complaint, and attempting to pressure a business owner into removing lawful customers. It also showed something else: fear. Clear, unmistakable fear on the faces of two children who had done nothing but sit at a table with their parents. Meanwhile, videos recorded by other diners had already begun circulating online. Short clips uploaded to social media showed Reeves standing over the Carter family, his voice raised, diners visibly upset, but those recordings lacked context. They didn't show what Reeves saw when he entered. They didn't capture the entire interaction from start to finish. His body camera did. When the Carters retained legal counsel, their attorneys immediately requested the footage through discovery. Once it was released, it became the foundation of everything that followed. High-definition video, perfect audio, recorded by the officer himself using department-issued equipment under mandatory activation policy. There was no arguing with it. Civil rights advocacy groups soon filed public records, requests seeking additional body camera footage from Officer Reeves' prior calls involving businesses and alleged disturbances. What they uncovered revealed a disturbing pattern. Over a 4-year period, Reeves had activated his body camera 82 times during business-related complaint calls. In 67 of those cases, the subjects of the complaints were people of color. The footage showed a consistent approach: immediate suspicion, vague accusations, threats of arrest, and pressure on business owners to remove customers despite no actual violations. In contrast, during at least 11 prior incidents where complaints were later filed against Reeves, his body camera had not been activated at all. Each time, Reeves claimed technical issues or oversight. Witnesses in those cases described behavior nearly identical to what happened at Sonny's Corner Grill. The investigation widened. Reviewers identified 8 other establishments where Reeves had responded to similar calls. In total, evidence showed that he had threatened or removed 39 individuals over a 3-year span based on complaints rooted in racial discomfort rather than unlawful behavior. Internal emails added another layer. In one message sent months before the diner incident, Reeves asked a supervisor how to handle repeat concerns from patrons about certain groups affecting atmosphere. The response read, "Use discretion when business owners want help preserving their customer base. As long as it stays within policy, you're supported." That email, paired with the body camera footage, demonstrated more than individual misconduct. It showed awareness, it showed tolerance, it showed quiet approval. The U.S. Attorney's Office opened a federal civil rights investigation. This was no longer about one officer and one family. It was about a pattern of selective enforcement enabled by silence and policy loopholes. Federal prosecutors began reviewing footage, witness statements, and internal communications, building a case that extended beyond Reeves himself. 6 months after the incident at Sonny's Corner Grill, federal agents arrived at Reeves' home. He was taken into custody without incident. The charges were serious: conspiracy to deprive civil rights and deprivation of rights under color of law. And the body camera footage was the centerpiece of the case. The federal indictment sent shockwaves through Brookhaven. Officer Daniel Reeves was charged under 18 U.S.C. Section 241 for conspiracy to deprive civil rights and 18 U.S.C. Section 242 for deprivation of rights under color of law. His supervising sergeant, who had approved or dismissed multiple prior complaints, was later named as a co-conspirator after agreeing to cooperate with investigators. The case moved quickly. Federal prosecutors made it clear from the start, this would not be argued in theory or interpretation. It would be shown on video. The trial began nearly a year after the incident at Sonny's Corner Grill and lasted just over 3 weeks. From the opening statement, the government focused on one central fact: the jury would see exactly what happened through Reeves' own eyes. On the first day of testimony, prosecutors played the full body camera footage from the diner. The courtroom was silent as jurors watched Reeves enter a calm restaurant, ignore every table except one, and walk directly toward the Carter family. They heard his voice, firm, dismissive, threatening, as he ordered them to leave without explanation. They watched two children shrink into their parents. They heard the restaurant owner refuse to participate in discrimination. They saw Reeves threaten consequences. The defense attempted to argue that Reeves had simply responded to a citizen complaint and exercised discretion. But when cross-examined, Reeves could not explain what disturbance the Carters had caused. He could not identify a single policy violation, and he could not reconcile his written report with what the video clearly showed. Then prosecutors introduced additional footage. 17 separate body camera recordings from prior incidents were played for the jury. Different locations, different dates, same pattern, peaceful patrons of color, vague complaints. Immediate threats, demands to leave. In multiple videos, business owners explicitly stated there was no problem. One by one, victims took the stand. A college student removed from a cafe while studying. A retired couple forced out of a grocery store. A father threatened with arrest while buying ice cream with his daughter. In total, 39 individuals testified. Mark Holloway testified as well. He described Reeves' attempt to intimidate him into compliance, the implied threat to his business, and the chilling realization that refusing discrimination came with retaliation. Expert witnesses followed. Statistical analysts demonstrated that Reeves' enforcement actions overwhelmingly targeted minorities. Civil rights experts explained how discretionary policing can be weaponized when unchecked. Former law enforcement officials testified that Reeves' conduct violated both policy and constitutional standards. The defense offered no alternative footage. There was nothing to counter what the jury had already seen. Reeves declined multiple plea offers, insisting he had only done his job. After closing arguments, the jury deliberated for 2 days. When they returned, the verdict was unanimous: guilty on all major counts. The judge cited abuse of authority, multiple victims, and lack of remorse during sentencing. Reeves was sentenced to 3 years and 7 months in federal prison. His former sergeant, who pleaded guilty earlier, received 16 months. But the criminal case was only part of the reckoning. The civil lawsuit was still ahead. While Officer Daniel Reeves began serving his federal sentence, the civil case moved forward. The Carter family filed a federal lawsuit against Reeves, his supervising sergeant, and the city of Brookhaven. The claims included civil rights violations, emotional distress, abuse of authority, and institutional discrimination. Unlike many cases that drag on for years, this one advanced rapidly. The reason was simple: there was no disputing the evidence. Reeves' own body camera footage eliminated every possible defense. City attorneys reviewed the recordings in full and understood the risk immediately. A jury would see a peaceful family targeted without cause, children frightened, and a business owner threatened for refusing to discriminate. Settlement talks began quietly. Within weeks, the city agreed to resolve the case for $2.3 million. The agreement went far beyond monetary compensation. It mandated structural reforms that reshaped how Brookhaven handled police oversight. An independent civilian review board was created with full investigative authority. All body camera footage involving business-related calls would be audited quarterly. Officers were required to document the specific legal basis for any request to remove patrons. Failure to activate body cameras during citizen interactions would result in automatic suspension. Mandatory bias training became ongoing, with regular testing rather than one-time seminars. The department also committed to collecting and publishing demographic data on enforcement actions involving private businesses. A separate $500,000 compensation fund was established to identify and compensate the other victims documented during the federal investigation. The case drew national attention. Law schools began teaching it as a modern example of how technology can expose systemic misconduct. Civil rights organizations cited it in policy arguments across multiple states. Departments nationwide quietly reviewed their own body camera compliance. Sonny's Corner Grill experienced an unexpected outcome. Community support poured in. Customers lined up out the door. Mark Holloway placed a sign near the entrance that read, "Everyone is welcome here. Discrimination has no place at our tables." The Carter family used a portion of their settlement to establish the Carter Equal Access Initiative, offering legal support to individuals facing discrimination in public accommodations. Renee Carter returned to work with a renewed focus on advocacy. Dr. Carter began speaking publicly about the emotional toll such encounters have on children. As for Reeves, he maintained his innocence. From prison interviews, he claimed he was a scapegoat. He never apologized, never acknowledged the harm, never addressed the fear his own camera had captured so clearly. Yet the footage remained unedited, unavoidable, permanent. It documented how power, when left unchecked, becomes abuse, and how the tools designed to protect authority can also expose it. One final chapter remained. Officer Daniel Reeves walked into Sonny's Corner Grill, believing the situation would end the way so many others had. A brief confrontation, a quiet family pressured to leave, no report challenged, no consequences. For years, that pattern had worked. What Reeves failed to remember in his rush to assert authority was the small black device clipped to his uniform. The body camera was active, recording in silence, capturing not just actions but intent. It recorded a calm restaurant. It recorded a family doing nothing wrong. It recorded a decision made before a word was spoken. That single recording dismantled a career built on selective enforcement. It exposed a system that allowed discrimination to masquerade as discretion. And it showed, frame by frame, how easily power can be abused when no one expects accountability. Reeves had entered the diner confident that a citizen complaint would shield him, just as it always had. Instead, his own equipment became the clearest witness against him. There was no room to reinterpret the footage. No missing context, no blurred audio. It was his perspective, his voice, his choices. The Carter family walked into a neighborhood restaurant expecting an ordinary lunch. They left with a lesson no parent should have to explain, that fairness is not guaranteed, even when you follow every rule. But they also left with something rare, proof. Proof strong enough to hold an officer, his supervisors, and an entire department accountable. The case reshaped policy. It reshaped oversight. It reshaped lives. Body cameras are often described as tools that protect police officers from false accusations. This case proved the other side of that truth. They also protect the public from officers who misuse their authority. When the law is enforced selectively, when discomfort is treated as a crime, and when silence enables abuse, technology becomes more than evidence, it becomes a mirror. Officer Daniel Reeves served his sentence. His badge was gone, his authority stripped away, his legacy reduced to a cautionary example studied in classrooms and policy meetings. Sonny's Corner Grill remained open, its sign still welcoming everyone who walked through the door. If you believe officers who selectively enforce the law based on race should face real consequences, write your opinion in the comments. Should body camera footage automatically trigger federal review in cases like this, or should departments be allowed to handle it internally? Let us know where you're watching from and whether you think this officer deserved prison time. Subscribe for more real stories where body cameras reveal what reports try to hide.